I just came home from 30 minutes of highway driving, and look what's happened.
So my Murano is smoking. I can't see where it's coming from.
So while I was driving, I didn't see any smoke. I didn't smell anything. There was no check engine light. I wasn't paying attention to the engine temperature, so it might have gone high. So I think this just happened right before I got home.
I feel like I smell coolant. Ooh, I see some coolant. Yes, I see coolant on my battery. So I think one of the hose came. Yeah, I'm leaking.
So I saw coolant, and I know it's leaking, and I know some of the smoke is from the coolant burning off from the hot engine. But I wanted to also make sure that I'm not having an engine fire before I shut this off and let it cool down.
Yeah, you can see the coolant. So it's leaking coolant somewhere.
So I can see more coolant splash on the left front side of the car. So I think it's something on the left front side that came off.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to investigate it tomorrow once it cools down.
So to examine coolant hoses, I had to remove the air inlet duct. This is a 10 millimeter bolt on each side of the duct. To remove the inlet duct, after you take out the bolts, push it back and then pull it back forward. So after putting the hose back in and reclamping it correctly, I cleaned up all the coolant splash around the engine so that it doesn't produce leftover smoke, and so that I can verify the leak is fixed. Now I'm gonna start the car to check for the leak.
You see that hose? Don't put your hand in there. You see that hose? It came out. I just put in. For now, let's go out for a drive.
I can't trust that 15 minutes of idle is putting enough pressure on the coolant hoses, so I took it out for a drive, and I made a critical mistake. Did you catch it? Because the coolant reservoir was filled to the max line, I totally forgot to check the coolant level in the radiator. After all, if the coolant level is low in the radiator, the coolant should have been drawn in from the reservoir. Isn't that right? Well, not in this case, as you will see here in a minute.
Uh-oh. This is not good. This is not good. I didn't even drive that far. I'm only a couple minutes away from home, and you see that temperature? It's all the way to the high. Okay, P1217. Okay, for the coolant, pay attention to the type of coolant you're getting. Notice this is the concentrate. It says you must add water. I always use the distilled water versus regular water. I think it's more purified and clean. It doesn't have all the minerals. So Here's the gallon of distilled water, and this green color here is half and half. That's mixed with the this Preston 50% and dehydrated water, distilled water 50%. So you can use this. It's kind of yellowishy green. Before I was using this from the dealership, but these are very expensive. This Preston was less than 11 bucks. This one, I think it was maybe close to 25, 30 bucks. I had also used this. No, it's just specifically for Nissan. I don't know that these coolants really make huge difference. But before I was using that, and I was actually looking for that at Walmart. They didn't have it this time. I also have a couple of Toyotas and a Lexus. So they have a separate one for Lexus and Toyota. And this one is kind of a reddish color. And all the other ones here for the Nissan are, it's gonna give you the green color, okay? So I used this to fill up the radiator as much as I can. And it took some time because I was running very low or near empty coolant in the radiator. So it took probably a gallon, maybe more than a gallon. And I had to also let it idle and let all the air bubbles come out. And even after 15 minutes of idling, the bubbles were still coming out, although it had slowed down quite a bit. So while at it, I'm gonna actually flush the coolant. While I was letting the air bubble up, I saw a lot of dirty particles coming up in the Murano. So I'm gonna actually do a full flush. Got the flush kit and flush cleaner. Now with this cleaner you can do 10-minute or 3-day deep cleaning. So I'm gonna try to do a deep cleaning on it. So that'll be on a future video. I filled it quite a bit. Oh, you see the coolant level going down and coming back up. Right now it's down about an inch from the top, but sometimes it builds back up and overflows. I'm trying to get all the air to come out. Okay, the coolant level is it's kind of interesting to watch this because the coolant level goes down as much as 2 inches. And now it's building back up and it may actually overflow. And it's probably trying to get some air out on the way, so that's what's causing this pressure. Yep, there it goes, it's overflowing now. So it's been doing this, it's been going down and coming back up, and periodically you see big air bubble. Oh, there's one. That's interesting. That yellow thing. Actually, can you give me a screwdriver or something? Also, I don't know if you guys know what this is. This is right next to the air box filter, air filter box. I don't feel any vacuum. There was no clamp on it, so it looks like it's intended to be like this. So I've been running the car for almost approaching maybe 18-20 minutes. The temperature is now stabilized at normal, which is good. I have the check engine light on. So okay, P1217. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase the code. I got that code when I was driving with not enough coolant. And erase it and then see if it comes back. Okay, erase the check engine light. So car's been warmed up. And it's cold air blowing at me. Also, I hear a lot of noise with the blower at a high fan. You hear that growling when I turn it up? Maybe the blower motor needs to be cleaned. But now the problem is I'm not getting any hot air. So I've been driving for about 5 minutes, sitting idle. I couldn't get the heat to come out, but as soon as I took it off for driving, I am getting the heat. I was concerned.
So I drove for a few more minutes and the temperature stayed at normal level and I got no check engine light. After I got home, I checked for smoke and leak and all checked out just fine. However, at this time the coolant reservoir was empty. Looks like idling and driving the car makes difference in the amount of coolant level that's shown in both radiator and in the reservoir. So next morning I added coolant to the radiator and to the reservoir to the proper level. And this time the coolant level had been stable for the last few days. So from this experience I learned several things. First, when the radiator coolant level goes down too quickly, possibly due to a leak like in my case, the reserve coolant may not be drawn into the radiator. So don't always trust that reservoir level is correct. Always check the radiator coolant level as well. Second, periodically make sure that the coolant hoses are clamped properly. Remember, mine had slid down by about an inch, though I'm still not sure how. Third, if you empty and refill the coolant, even if the temperature has warmed up to a normal level, you may not get heat until you start driving. Fourth, visual inspection of coolant looked fine before, but after watching it closely while I was trying to let the air bubbles come out, a lot of yellowish particles were coming up, which means it was definitely due for a good flush. So I will do a follow-up video on a deep cleaning and a flush in the next video. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.